In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a repo on GitHub. Then we're going to clone that repo to our local machine, make some changes to it, and push those changes back to GitHub. Welcome to automateNow. I'm Marco Cruz. Let's dive in. In this video, we're going to respond to a user request. Pankaj here is asking, please make a video on how to create a Git repository from scratch, how to clone it, SSH, creating branches and all. Thank you so much, Pankaj, for your request. So now let's take a look at how we're going to do this. And first of all, you're going to need a GitHub account. GitHub is not the only company that offers source control. You have others such as GitLab and Bitbucket, but we're going to be using GitHub for this example. If you don't have a GitHub account, please check the video above to learn how to open an account. Once you have an account, you're going to see something like this. Right now I have 4 different repos that I have created. But if you have a brand new account, you're not going to see any repositories here. To create a new repository, you click on the Repositories tab. And then we click on the New button here. In this block, we're going to enter our repository name. I'm just going to call it Test Repo. You're welcome to put a description in here. And next, you're going to decide whether you want to make this public or private. As the name implies, public means that everyone will have access to this, while private will only make it possible for you to have access, or whoever you designate. We're going to leave this one as public. Next, you have an option here to initialize your repository. It says here that you can skip this step if you're importing an existing repository. This is not what we're doing, so we need to initialize this. And there are different options here. For example, you can add a README file. This file allows others to know what your repository is about. We also have an option to add a gitignore file, and this allows us to ignore certain files where we're doing version control. And lastly, you can choose a license. If you're creating something that is open source, I encourage you to select a license that allows people to freely use your code. Otherwise, you can leave this unchecked. If you have any questions, you can always click on these links here to learn more about each one of these options. In our case, we're just going to add a README file and a gitignore file. Next, we need to select what type of project we're going to be working on. Let's say that we want to create a Java project. So I'm going to enter Java here and select that there. And we see here that a main branch is going to be created. We can also change the name of this branch if we choose by going to the settings menu. I'm going to leave it as main, but keep in mind that others may use something like master instead of main. Now we're ready to create this repo. Let's go ahead and click create repository. Our repo has been created. And notice that it contains the 2 files that we selected, gitignore and readme files. We also see right here that there's a main branch that was created right here. Now there's not much inside this repo right now. And let's say that we want to clone this repo so that we can work on this in our local machine. To do that, we click on this dropdown that says code. And there are different options here: HTTPS, SSH, GitHub CLI. It is recommended that you use HTTPS, and that's what we're going to be using here. And what we need to do is copy this information right here. And to do that, we click on this little clipboard right here. Once that is copied, now we can open SourceTree to clone this repo. Once SourceTree is open, we can click on this button that says clone. Then we're going to paste that URL that we got. And we hit tab. This is going to pre-fill these other fields right here. If you want to change the directory, you can do so here. This is the place where the repo is going to be stored in your computer. Once you're happy, you can click clone. And now we have cloned the repo. To verify that this has been done on our machine, we can also go to the file directory. And here I've navigated to the automation folder, and I can see a new folder here called test repo. If I open this, I'm going to see that this is a Git repo because you're going to see this folder here that says .git. Depending on your system configurations, you may not see this folder, but that's okay. And that is because by default, this is a hidden folder. Now let's see how we can set up some branches. Currently, we only have one branch, and that is the main branch. This can also be called master. It is not a good idea to use the main branch to develop new code. What normally happens is that we create a copy of the main branch, and we call that copy develop. We write our new code using the develop branch. And to do that in SourceTree, what we need to do is click on this button that says Git Flow. And you're going to get this window right here. As you can see here, it says the production branch is going to be called master. But in our case, we're not using master, we're using main. This is our production branch. So we're going to change this master to be main. Next, we have a development branch. We're going to call that one develop. And in fact, we're going to leave all these defaults here. and then we're going to click OK. Once that process is complete, you're going to see a new branch here called Develop. If we click on this tab that says History here, we're going to see what is contained in that branch. We see two files, gitignore and readme. Notice that these are the same files as those in the main branch. If we switch to the main branch, we're going to see those files also. To switch branches, you simply double click the branch that you want to switch to. Right now, this is the currently selected branch because it has this little circle and is in boldface. Let's double click main. And notice that now this one has the little circle. And we can see those files also listed there. So develop has been copied from main. Now let's say that we want to make some changes to this repo. Let's go ahead and make some changes to this readme file here. I'm going to double click this file, and you will need to select an editor to edit this file. I will be using Notepad++. And notice that this file only contains the name of our repo, test repo. So I can add a new description here and say, this is my first awesome repo. And now I'm going to save this file and close this. Now I have added some changes to this repo. This repo no longer matches what is on GitHub. So we need to send the new changes to GitHub so that both can be in sync. The repo on GitHub and the repo on my machine can be exactly the same. Notice that after I made that change to this file, I now see a little 1 here next to this button that says commit. Let's click on that. And when we click on that, we see this section that says unstaged files, readme. If we click on this file, you're going to see what happened in this file. It shows here that we added some new comments. The area in red is showing that this was deleted, and the area in green shows that this was added. And although it seems that test repo was deleted, we can see that this is still there. All we did was add this new line that says, this is my first awesome repo. Before we can upload these changes over to GitHub, we need to stage these changes. On stage means that this is not ready to be sent over to GitHub. So once you're ready with your changes, all you need to do is select the file and say stage selected. And notice that this file has moved from this section here over to this top section. This says staged. This is ready to go over to GitHub. The last thing that we need to do is to add a comment here. So in this section is where you add your comments. And while you can leave this blank, I highly recommend that you always add comments. This allows all the team members to know what exactly is going on with this change. So here I'm going to say that I modified the readme file. Next, we need to click on this button that says commit. And notice that now this screen is blank, meaning that we have committed our changes and we're ready to send them to the cloud on GitHub. Notice that this branch main is showing a number 1 with an up arrow. The number 1 means that there is one change, and the up arrow means that we're ready to send it over to GitHub. So what we need to do is to click on this button that says push, and this is called pushing our changes. This window right here allows us to decide what we want to push. Usually it's going to be automatically selected. So in our case, we made some changes to the main branch and we want to push those changes. So we can leave this checked right here and then we click push. And if this is your first time doing it, you're going to get this screen that it says that you need to either sign in to your GitHub account or provide a personal access token. This is a new change with GitHub that started as of August of 2021. If you would like to learn how to create a personal access token, please check the video above to learn how to create a personal access token. Since I already have a token, I'm going to enter that here. So let me go ahead and enter that here. And again, keep in mind that you can also sign into your GitHub account. I just chose to use a token instead. Another thing is that you're only going to need to do this once. Once you are able to either sign in through your GitHub account or provide a token, this is not going to be coming up again every time you try to commit a code. And that is because this is part of the GitHub Credential Manager. This is going to automatically store your information. So let's go ahead and click sign in. Okay, so now we see that this little 1 and the up arrow has disappeared. This means that we have sent our changes from our local machine over to GitHub on the cloud. Now let's head over to GitHub to verify that our new changes were actually sent over there. And if we navigate to the test repo, we're going to see that there's a new change here. It says here modified readme file. Let's go ahead and take a look at this file to see what it has. I'm going to click on it. And here we can see what we added. This is my first awesome repo. There's one last thing that I want to point out before I go. And that is that if you're getting a screen that looks something like this in SourceTree, whenever you try to push your code over to GitHub, this could mean that you're using an older version of Git. Please make sure that you have the latest version of Git installed before proceeding. Please let me know in the comments if you run into any issues. I would be more than happy to help. And thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.